Hello and welcome to episode 41 of I'm Fine, a chat between myself, Damo, and the global ambassador of vitamin D, Mark. It's a chat around the subjects of health, wealth, well-being, fitness, sport, and the benefits of vitamin D. I mean, I'm not sure we've mentioned vitamin D.
Do you want me to start?
No. I don't think you know much about vitamin D.
It's not a vitamin either.
What? Ooh, is that a tease?
No. I thought we said before. It's a hormone.
Oh, right.
Just gets lumped in.
And the benefits of hormone D.
In fact, I think it's actually strictly a pro or a pre-hormone. We'll stick to vitamin D.
Why not? It's what everyone knows it as.
Yeah.
Why reinvent the wheel?
It's a bit like Prince when he changed his name.
To the symbol.
Yeah.
All work in progress, and this podcast is no exception. In short, it's a poke at our perfectly imperfect lives, and if we can make just one person feel like they're not alone in all this madness, then our work here is done.
I think that's your top.
Is that my best one so far?
The most
Are you ranking my
reverb?
If you haven't already subscribed to us, then please do, as that's a good way of never missing an episode. Just go and hit subscribe as ticks or whatever, just whatever it is.
You told them.
A billion times. Yeah, still not doing it. There we are.
Untidy your room.
Yeah. So, warm up and stretch. We've got some catching up to do, some bookmarks in work-life ballet. We have a special guest again.
Drum roll, please.
So Bryan is back, and we're going to be talking rest, rehab, and recovery. How are you?
Yeah,
Mark.
Good, thank you.
Good.
I saw this and I sent it to a person, and it's from a TV show, and I've forgotten the name. It's an American TV show.
Great start. I sent this thing to this person about a thing.
I'm consistent.
Come on, we're all about the detail.
It's about two women in America who work in a burger place. Have you seen it? If I show you the picture?
No.
Okay.
What should I
Do you
know
ever
what
watch?
that is?
Do you ever watch Bob's Burgers?
No.
Okay.
This was like listening to the last episode. The first 5 minutes, even listening back, I've no idea what you're talking about. It was just, I think I said it was like being on the end of a machine gun fire.
Okay.
It was just...
The bit about Cleaner Kelly falling asleep has gone, hasn't it? I think I'm a bit...
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll calm down.
We're going to have to back the lorry up again.
No.
Beep, beep, beep. I think you're too youth. I think that's what it is. You're so youth.
This is a meme from an American show.
Right.
With two women in it working in a burger place. It isn't Bob's Burgers. That's better than this. That's animated. So, one on this meme. So I sent this to Amelia. Actually, it wasn't to a person.
It was.
Yeah.
It just happened to be Amelia.
Yeah. The AI Amelia. Did you notice?
She has AI in the end of her name.
Oh. Did you notice Immigram was asking her followers, because she's going to dye her hair, what colour it should be?
Oh, the
virtual reality. And they're going, oh, she probably look good in blue. And it's like,
you're totally
she doesn't
sold
exist.
on it. Yeah, you're totally sold. So it works, right?
Yeah. I didn't vote. So one woman says to the other woman, fine doesn't mean fine.
Right.
And then she goes, the scale goes great, good, okay, not okay, I hate you, fine.
Yeah, it's good.
And I thought...
That could be our album cover, couldn't it, that?
Yeah. Those could be the tracks.
The playlist album? What you want to see? I don't know. He's just shouting words at me. I don't know what you mean.
No. Okay.
Go on.
Let's move on. No. I've just... That
you look really hot again. You're making me hot. I'm feeling sweaty.
I think I'm keeping this on because I know I'll go off and you'll go, oh, Mark's taking his top off.
Yeah, you know it.
And also...
Give me some material.
Also, the other day, it did sound like I was... When I said something like
when
going
you
topless.
ride me?
No, I went something like going topless. What I meant was...
Going topless for 2021 is what you were saying.
I had posted a picture of my back, and I haven't posted any pictures of my body without clothes on probably for about 6 months.
Someone else posted a picture of your back. I don't think you had much choice.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, it looked good, your back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It didn't...
Do you know in Twins with DeVito and Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
He's trying on a shirt in the supermarket and he takes his top off and he turns around and DeVito goes, oh my God, the back's almost as bad as the front. You're like you can't tell which way around you are. It's just muscly back and front. Apart from which way your head is, but that's a bit of a giveaway.
Yeah, and with a hat, it's hard to tell. Can't see much of my head.
If you put your glasses on the back of your head, it'd have the same effect. No, it wouldn't.
Sort of Eric Morecambe style.
I'm being silly. Yeah. You're okay?
Yeah. And
You've
yourself?
been up to? It feels like it's ages since I've seen you.
Yeah, it does feel a long time.
It's like 3 days. 2 days.
We've had some interesting text discussions for another time, probably, but...
Can't remember. Honestly, it's so it's the fleeting. I can't remember.
No.
I'm sure they've been cracking. But they've been high value, haven't they? Funny,
Well,
intellectual.
no, just things that we might be doing.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about. We're not going to say now.
No, that's just what everyone wants to hear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stuff
I
we're
do
not going to
this a
talk
lot.
about. Yeah, you did, yeah. Although the COVID, we did say we weren't going to talk about COVID, and then you spent 8 minutes talking about it, which was good.
I know.
I think that was worthwhile saying. I think you were feeling strongly about it, and you got it out. And
What
I think
did I
that's
say?
what
I can't even remember.
you were saying. Just how bad the government had been at rolling out the vaccines.
Yeah, and it was on the news today that they were saying they might not meet their numbers because they haven't got enough vaccines. And I thought, you should have checked maybe last week when you said you were going to do 14 million that the cupboards were full.
And some are getting wasted as well. Get them out the fridge and then they're sitting on the side. They can't put them back, apparently.
No. And one goes the whole batches. It's like, anyways.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
No.
Are we? What shall we talk about?
Well, they've said 2 million people have been vaccinated, but only 21,000 have been vaccinated with 2, the double dose.
So not very many then.
And I know there's a reason for doing this, which is twice as many people get the first vaccine. But it's interesting that one of those 21,000 is the Prime Minister's father.
Oh, yeah.
He was lucky that his name came out.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Bearing in mind
Especially he's going to get it before he
care.
pisses off to France.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're not going to talk about that, are we?
No. That's it. Nothing. Not a word. Or about him going to Greece in lockdown.
No, I mean...
When you weren't allowed to fly to Greece.
That's a good point.
Or even fly.
I'm so glad you wouldn't bring these things up.
No. He went via Bulgaria.
Did he?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you're not allowed to fly direct to Greece.
Right. Do you imagine if all this didn't go in? It'd be such a waste, wouldn't it? Do you remember when we talked about coffee machines and you got freaked out that someone was knowing when you made a coffee?
Yeah,
like which coffee? Yeah, and you were like, oh my God, I don't want them to know.
In retrospect.
And literally, we've just bled into a test tube and sent it to someone who we have no idea who they are. Do you know what I mean?
That's true.
They have our DNA now.
And we've told them all about us.
Yeah. So they know where we live, they know our name, they know our age, and they have literally, they could clone us.
And in your case, it was a lot of blood, wasn't it?
Yeah, you could probably make 3 of me with that.
You'd be
just
like that.
make half of one of you. It'd still be, it'd be the size of a normal person. Just with no muscles.
You could be that sheep. What was the sheep? I keep wanting to
Shaun
say
the
Fanny.
sheep.
No.
Fanny?
The first
Larry the Lamb?
No. He was in EastEnders.
What, a sheep?
Yeah.
Oh, Dolly.
Dolly, not
yeah,
Fanny.
the first... No.
No.
Yeah, that was the first
Cloned.
clone sheep. That's right.
Yeah.
She's still going.
I don't know. I'll tell you what, fact of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I also I started making a list of, because I thought I might run out of anecdotes. Do you like interesting
Would
things?
you wake up in a blind panic, did you?
Yeah, and just thought nothing else has happened in my life. I've told everything. Now I'm going to have to start lying and making up. Oh, fuck,
I can't even go out and make new memories.
No.
I can't do anything. When you've forgotten it.
Oh, no.
Shut up, you
What were we
haven't
just
forgotten
talking about?
Oh, this is hilarious.
Oh, yeah,
you literally
yeah.
have run out of things
No,
to say.
I've got it.
Oh.
So, picture the scene. Oh, when was this? Probably 19... Oh, I don't
41?
know. 1980s, I think. Maybe 1990s. Probably 1990s. Yeah, 1990s.
You remember the 90s, can you? I thought you were in Hacienda, kind of pilling it up, weren't you?
No.
Did you ever go there?
What, pills?
Yeah, no, that I meant.
I went to Hacienda, yeah.
I know that.
Not as often. It's one of those things you look back and go, I went there like once.
Oh, okay.
But I lived in Sheffield, and so it was like...
It wasn't too far.
No, it's across the...
Okay.
But I think I only ever went there once. And even that, I don't even know if I did. You get the feeling you went there once.
Blurry, was it? Early
The place in yeah. And this wouldn't be in the 90s. This is like early 80s. So early 90s, I'm back in Bristol.
Okay.
I had either 1 or 2 daughters. Anyway, decided to get... I can't even work out how this happened. I'd had 1 or 2 daughters, and I think they were in childcare.
You're not even sure about your children now. I mean,
I
is blurry
think they were in
time.
childcare. And I don't know why, but I think we got a nanny. I can't work out why this is.
Is this your life? Or is this someone else's?
No,
Have you
no.
watched a film recently? I know you don't watch many
Anyway.
films. Have you watched something and gone, is that me? No, it's a memory of your own.
Anyway, we got this 18-year-old woman, childcare, and I didn't take to her instantly. And within about 10 minutes of her first day with us, I just thought, I don't really like you.
Right.
But you thought, give her a chance sort of thing. She was just
Give her 20 minutes.
Yeah. And after 11 minutes, she told us she was the world's first test tube baby.
Shut the front door.
Yeah. And I thought...
You can stay. Is that what you said?
Well, no, you sort
You
of...
thought,
I'd hope for more. It's like...
That is pretty impressive.
Yeah, she didn't last.
That's practically royalty, aren't you? Or she's lying out of her arse and
No.
she's,
It is. I've seen pictures of her subsequently.
Yeah, but at the time she didn't go around, look at me, a picture of a test tube.
No. Don't even go there.
I asked my dad once what a test tube baby was.
Yeah.
And he said, you'll find out when you're older.
Mm-hmm.
That's as far as our birds and bees chat got.
Okay.
So
anyway.
did find out.
Well, I did because you do know what it is.
Yeah, I always think how do they break out the glass at some point? Do you know what I mean?
I think they just change them into a vial, don't they?
Oh, what, they're just putting bigger test tubes as they grow?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Otherwise, that'd be daft.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah. But, so that was going back to Dolly the sheep, and we had, the world's first.
Wow.
Desperately trying to think of a name, which I should know. I don't want to Google it because I
Is it
can't be
something
asked.
scientific?
She just had a number.
Yeah, it was a lab number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it was XY1473, but I can't remember if it was 3 or 2. We just called her XY. And sacked her.
Was she any good or not?
I don't think she came back after the first day. Yeah, just type in XY1432.
Yeah, I am, yeah.
I think in Sarah.
Louise.
Oh, Louise.
You should.
Yeah, she was Louise.
Was hailed as the first. Louise Brown was hailed
we
as
had
the
to
first.
hail her as she came in. That was part of the conditions from the agency.
Can you remember what she looked like? If I showed you a picture.
Yeah.
Is that her?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go then.
Oh, no, it's true. I know the story's true.
Yeah, the story. What, her story? Well, that yours. I'm not doubting your story. That you met someone who said she was the first test tube baby, but she could be talking out of her ass.
Yeah, I think. Well, no, she had like. No,
it's one of the side effects. Sorry, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm hot. I'm getting a bit giddy.
Yeah. So that was that. So that was.
Yes, this company could have our DNA. Well, they do have our DNA, and they could be doing really mean things with it, couldn't they? I've seen Bourne. You know, when they take his.
I don't do
Jason
films.
Bourne.
Yeah,
I don't. Do you? I've got loads to give you.
I do, but like.
They frame him for a murder. They frame him for a murder.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. What were you saying?
No. I said mine's probably. I've got some films.
Have you seen anything this century?
Yeah, I'm not good on names though, so I have seen films. Yeah.
So it doesn't bother you though the fact they got your DNA.
Nope.
Okay, but a coffee machine.
Coffee machine. Yeah. I do think in retrospect, my sort of like shock and horror that someone would know that I had a 4-ranked Colombian 5 a.m. worried me. It's a bit.
Yeah. It's a little bit too much that.
Well, it's a stupid thing to get worried about, isn't it? I should just chill a bit, I think.
Guess so.
Get the old Vegas
I was just
nerve
thinking because there's all this WhatsApp stuff going with the privacy stuff at the moment. Some people are kind of freaking out about it. It's like, but those are the kind of people who freak. Well, if they likely to have given someone a blood, done a test like us. You know what I mean? People do that and don't even think what untold horrors can happen giving someone your DNA.
They looked honest though, didn't they? The packaging was nice and
they had a website.
Yeah,
that's enough for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
They have to be legit.
Yeah, they had a BMI test as well, which I just did the government one, and I'm now officially overweight.
Are you?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I'm striving
you're
for
quite happy
obese.
with that, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm overweight.
Yeah, you
now.
don't believe
the government website told me to lose 5 pounds.
Yeah, I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, it's just such a blunt.
Take your 3 hoodies off, that'll help.
Yeah. I'm going to in a minute.
Now, do you weigh yourself in all your clothes?
I weigh myself in the same clothes because if I wore all my clothes, that would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that when you got on a plane? Oh, I'll tell you what, this is a funny story.
With all your clothes?
No, when you wear, like, literally.
Oh, because you don't want to overdo the baggage.
Yeah.
Because then you never get weighed, do you? So you could just wear everything you've taken with you, couldn't you?
Yeah. Because you as a person doesn't get weighed.
That's right,
What was it that Wayne carried?
Some
turtle wax for his car, and he carried it to Budapest.
Yeah, because he came late, didn't he? He just basically got to meet us really late, and just had whatever he brought back with him, and he didn't even check his bags.
But he had about £300 worth of aftershave, didn't he? And they said
you had to go out with. We were going. We hadn't even come back.
No, when we went out, we just had hand luggage. And when he got to the
he had the
anything
turtle wax
to declare,
then, didn't he?
Yeah,
he was trying to get out the country with turtle wax in his bag.
But lots of, he does smell well, but it's just that's because he's got a clever
he smells
nose.
of turtle wax.
Yeah, got the shiniest nose guy. But yeah, he had so much aftershave. They said, well, you can just leave it here and then get it back. And he said it would be cheaper for it to go in the hold, wasn't it?
Oh, that's when
because it was just and he paid like a £5.
No, I think he paid more than that.
No, I think it was really cheap because I think he paid very little and then got sort of priority. He was like first on the plane with his car wax.
Anyway, David, our resident army captain, said, now, this is Arthur Bogwhistle talking about no content. If this isn't content, I don't know what is. Now, David said, a sawn-off shotgun gives everyone a little bit, I think is the phrase.
Okay.
Like the modern day grenade.
Okay.
As in, so
Bits
a
of
wide
flying.
spread,
Yeah.
so everyone gets a piece. Then he said, rather than the old chocolate bar version where you get a big chunk. I think he was referring to a grenade, but
Or maybe a gun where it's just one big bullet.
yeah, spray.
But
Very deadly.
that sort of, was that your point, I think?
I think, yeah.
But it's been backed up officially, which is good.
By
The army.
the army, yeah. The guinea, you looked at the guinea, we're talking about that with horses.
Yeah, £1 and a shilling.
It was a coin
Yeah.
minted in Great Britain between 1663 and 1814 that contained approximately 1/4 of an ounce of gold. Didn't know there was any gold in it. The name came from the Guinea region in West Africa, from where much of the gold used to make the coins was sourced.
That's interesting.
Oh, good. Glad you found something I've said interesting.
Not from guinea pigs.
As you first thought. They just pull the gold fillings out of guinea pigs. It was the first English machine-struck gold coin, originally worth £1 sterling, equal to 20 shillings. But rises in the price of gold relative to silver caused the value of the guinea to increase, at times to as high as 30 shillings. From 1717 to 1816, its value was officially fixed at 21 shillings.
All right. Phew.
Insert Brian here. Which is what all the women would like, right? Mentioning no names, Russian spy.
I'm just envisaging a massive arrow with like light bulbs along the edge of it.
Yeah. So
That's not going in, is it?
what?
That crudity.
Well, no, we'll see.
We'll see.
We spoke to Brian about rest, recovery, and rehabilitation,
Yep.
and this is how it went. Welcome back.
It's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Have you been?
I've been pretty good despite the circumstances. Yeah, I mean it's been a challenge for all of us, but I've had plenty of things distracting me. I want to say, did we catch up around? It was the start of November, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, me and you, or just
No, when we had
what
the
we did?
pod.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I think it was the start of November. I could be
Lots of things.
mistaken.
No, it all just blends into one. And of course, I was going to bring this up anyway, but I did sound cheeky last time. It sounded like I was trying to get a free appointment, but we have actually had a proper one, and we said so. That's what I thought you were mentioning. But yeah, we have. I have had my
that's
top
true, but
off.
we
in
need to
front
talk
of
about
you.
your follow up as well, off
Yeah, we
pod.
did. But it was very good. I think that was it was. I didn't know what to expect. I guess so. I've never really had like physio appointments in real life.
Yeah.
He says air quoting. So, but it was really good.
Yeah.
It's a bit like this pod, but I got my top off instead of Mark. So, but
Except I got some feedback on the exercises.
what do you mean?
You told me on Tuesday you've not done them.
All right.
Just thought I'd say, just bring that up now.
Good. It's always good to know I've got someone on rep police homework management. Mark,
Yeah.
you can send me separate messages.
Can't believe you just sold me out on this.
Job them in. Properly thrown under the bus there.
Yeah.
This is what happens. You give all your advice, and then the client comes back and goes, "No, it didn't work," and it's because they're doing sod all.
It was working. I'm right.
It was.
We'll have a word after this.
Okay.
I mean, look, you could probably do a podcast on compliance, right? And just looking at the kind of the psychology of compliance and will to succeed and things like that.
We have been talking about accountability, so that isn't. We're not far off in
No.
terms of what
Not
things we've been
miles.
talking about, and accountability buddies. So it is good to have someone up your arse, isn't it, so to speak, just kind of giving you a little
Grassing
bit
you
of
up.
yeah. Well, it is, isn't it? Have you done, it's good when it's not coming from someone you see all the time,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah,
guess
and
me-
it always helps if it's external source is important. It's like I'm a physio. My wife's a physio, but do we help each other out with physio treatment? Not that much because it just doesn't come from an external enough source.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's important.
See, we're off to a flyer.
Yeah, another nugget.
Yeah. So, so episode 20, No Pain, No Gain, which is actually our most popular episode. It's great. Yeah.
They'll hear it.
So we just want you on every single one of us, I think, is probably what we're saying.
We're going to have you
I
every
can
20.
do a 5 minute. I can do a 5 minute guest spot. You pick the topic.
Yeah. Well, every 20, that's not a bad shout.
Yeah, because it keeps the averages up then.
I can manage that.
So we talked about pain, and we've been talking about the vagus nerve of late as well. and kind of rest, and we're starting to, I guess, get into rest a bit more and maybe relaxation. And we touched on rehab and recovery when we were talking about the pain. I think in terms of my example, I don't mean to bring my shoulder into this, it's not all about my shoulder, is it? But that idea that if you're feeling pain, is it good to keep working on something? Is it good to rest it? We did, because we had so much to talk about, we didn't really get into it. So I think the things we've been talking about since has kind of lined us up hopefully nicely for talking about rest, recovery and rehabilitation.
But also the inflammation, wasn't it? We were talking about the vagus nerve and its impact on, or the signals it gets from your gut and other areas around inflammation. So
well, I was really interested to listen to your pod, actually, because when you told me you were doing that, I thought actually that's a good listen, because that takes me right back to sort of undergraduate and some of the postgraduate, when you're kind of really learning some of the detailed anatomy. And how much time have I spent sitting down talking and thinking about the vagus nerve? And I love what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well,
But, and thank you for saying it was at postgrad level. Thank you, Bryan.
It was nice to revisit some of that stuff, actually, and its role in what we see at the surface, because actually, a lot of we sometimes forget that deeper physiology is obviously what underpins what we see at the surface and what's going on. So that was an interesting listen for me.
Yeah, it's been good for me because I've never heard of it. I mean, why would anyone hear of it? But all the things you talk about, I think everybody can relate to it. Everyone has physically felt those things, or been, maybe subconsciously been aware of those things.
The surface symptoms is what I mean. People are aware of the things on the surface, but then what you guys did nicely was sort of tie that and underpin that to. I can't remember what was the definition that you had read out for what just describing the vagus nerve. Some big willowy branch of
squiggly shaggy
thing or something. Yeah,
I mean that was the post-grad bit, wasn't it?
That was probably above your head, Bryan.
The theme of this was rest, rehab, and recovery. They are different things. I think that was kind of probably the first place I wanted to start was. And they are. I've been thinking about this morning. I could probably go, well, rest is doing nothing. This is Muggles terms here. Rehab is probably working on something. And then recovery, I don't know. Is it a bit of both of those things? So I don't know whether that was a good place to put, at least your definitions of what.
I don't think you can beat those for definitions.
Interesting choice of kind of words and topics, because they do all interrelate, and depending on whether you go off down a dictionary definition of these things, or you go down a sort of a strength and conditioning definition of these things, you'll find different answers. I mean, I looked at the sort of a dictionary definition of rest as ceasing work or movement in order to relax, sleep, or recover strength. And so even the definition of resting included the word recover. So then my feeling is that rest in and of itself is sort of a misunderstood and perhaps undervalued concept for training, adaptation in and of itself, because it not only covers physical, but also mental, emotional, social, and the list goes on. But suffice to say, it's a multidimensional sort of construct in how it affects the body. And I guess that's what we wanted to delve into, was just establishing that it's not just the body when we talk about rest, because I think rest is often misconstrued as being a lazy thing to do. Well, I'm just going to have a rest. I'm just going to, sit on the sofa. And it's not that rest isn't having a nap, but there's more going on than just being lazy. And again, much as anything else, whether it's training, rest can also be dosed the right amount. You can also under rest. You can also over rest. So dosing is important, once again, just like with any of these metrics that we're using and involving with sort of health and recovery. Same as diet, dosing is important with diet, as we know. And training, Mark, obviously, we dose a workout, don't you? Pick a sets and rep scheme that satisfies a criteria to achieve an outcome, whether that's improved cardiovascular conditioning or improved strength conditioning.
Yeah, definitely.
So dosage for rest is important.
Yeah, balance comes to mind. We talk about balance a lot. And your Instagram, this is a bit random, but you put up a post from Leon Taylor.
I know Leon, yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah. My wife went to school with him. I used to play Kiss Chase with him. So every time he used to go on...
Is that right? Brilliant.
And I did have permission to mention that, by the way.
From Leon.
Yeah. So every time he used to come on, like, commentating on the diving, like, I played Kiss Chase. Anyway, That's embarrassed her enough. But here's the little chart he put up, which was what I thought would make me productive. And there was like, it was almost like a, 2 pie charts, wasn't it? One was hard work, which was the whole of the pie. And then what actually does make someone productive, and then it's all kind of divided up. And hard work and exercise was half of that pie. And the other half was time off, sleep, and healthy eating.
Nutrition, healthy eating.
Yeah, just as I was texting you, I think, or writing you an email, that I saw that and I thought, oh, this is that's perfect, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily half of your time that makes up rest, but...
And I responded to that. It's about the first thing I've responded to with Bryan for Insta for weeks, and it was that chart.
Oh, was it?
I thought it was just so simplistic but effective at the same time.
It takes a lot for me to get a response out of Mark on Instagram.
It does, doesn't it? I was looking at
really got to get a nugget there.
I'm an introvert. Back off.
I'd frame that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice. Some of those things just sing to you. And I said, Leon's a great guy. We did a charity bike ride together in 2019 for Le Cure, which is a charity associated with the Royal Marsden. And, just riding with him, he was a real force of nature in terms of positivity and energy. And, I've done some of his exercise. He does like online classes, which they combine sort of exercise, bit of yoga, bit of holistic mind health. And they're just brilliant. Like, they're just a real positive uplift. So I did a couple of those during the first lockdown. They're brilliant. And it was nice to kind of link back up with him again.
I guess what's your view on... You've kind of already touched on rest and how important that is, but
well, yeah. I mean, actually, what I will say is, I think the other thing you were looking for is, what do we take from rest? I guess we've kind of, as we do, we just kind of will sort of blend through them. But my feeling is just to almost to define that is that what do we take from rest? Well, rest is our ability to kind of deal with stressors that our system has to deal with, and stressors I think are different to just saying stress. Stress is both a good thing and a negative thing. Again, the amount of it is important, and the amount of it over a period of time is important. And the analogy I sort of describe is sort of almost think about a cup. You can think of like or any sort of vessel, but a cup of water, and that cup is our sort of tolerance over a period of time. And we pile all these stressors into it. So that might be a gym session. It might be a really busy day at work. It might be some difficult, challenging circumstances at home, and some other emotional challenges with your family. And all those things pile into our cup of stresses. Now, as that cup fills up, there's a point at which it will overflow. And that's where we're then dealing with stresses that negatively affect our system in lots of different ways, whether that's illness, injury. And I think the important way to characterize that is that it might be any of those things. It doesn't necessarily mean, the physical thing doesn't necessarily always create the physical injury, is I guess the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. Lots of different stresses will fill that cup, and any one output might be the problem that you get. It might be that you end up getting ill. It might be that you end up with a physical illness. And my idea there is I always try and maintain the cup. So if the cup's getting too full, then you've either got to look at how you're managing those input stressors, or are there ways that you can have a bigger cup so that you can tolerate and take more? Can we build a bigger cup? Can we tolerate more stress? If we become more resilient to those things. And I think that was for me, the concept of, what do we benefit from rest? Well, rest is our way of actually either growing the cup or gradually reducing the volume of what's inside it, so we can tolerate more stress again.
Yeah.
I like the idea of growing the cup, because I was thinking one of the things that we've been talking about, especially around mindfulness and meditation, is I think when that works for me, that does grow the cup, because it takes you in a place where the stresses don't disappear when you have mindfulness or meditation. But that sort of being, the phrase I use, rivet in now, sort of just being there for that moment, can sometimes give you an altered perspective. So the stresses are still there, but exactly like you're saying, your reaction to them is better or calmer or more able to take them on board, rather than getting to that point of overflow. So I think mindfulness for me has been growing the cup, which I like that analogy.
And we've talked about stress being important and something there's lots of, I guess, stresses you probably should try and avoid, but there's plenty that is just part of life and will help us grow.
Yeah.
Either that cup or as individuals, right? So I can't remember we talked about on the pain episode, but that stress is actually important. Even in the,
it's vital,
isn't it? So it's not. I think I like that takeaway of saying it's not something to completely avoid.
Yeah.
No, without stress, we don't have any adaptation. I mean, that's a quite simple concept, and I think broadly speaking, again, if we move away from sort of specific or dictionary definitions, stress if you say stress, you often imagine the office worker tearing their hair out with stress, or a family situation that's really stressful. And actually, the more broad way to look at stress is, as I said, stressors or stressors that come on our system, and there are all sorts of different things that add challenge, and our body responds to challenge. It's getting that dose and the amount of that stress right. If we can deal with it, we'll adapt, and if we can adapt, we can then, like I said, we go back to that grow the cup sort of idea.
Yeah. And I guess
that's the key thing for me.
On the meditation, but I guess there's two cups, isn't there? There's a physical one and a mental one. And they could be different. Sorry, I didn't mean to, smash your cup analogy. But, or as a cup with two compartments. I don't know, however you want to.
Or a tea set.
A teapot? Is there a teapot? Maybe you can pour it into different cups.
Some fine china.
It's getting very esoteric. I like it.
Yeah, but I guess some people might, their mental cup might be, smaller than their physical cup, or vice versa, or they might be nicely balanced.
So it's growing capacity, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it can be in one of two areas.
Because when I think about rest, physical rest, I think of cyclists who probably, and you would tell me this, Bryan, that's maybe a few days before they actually race, they're literally sitting there watching TV with their legs up. I was going to say eating Wotsits, but they're probably not doing that. It's really important not even to walk around, isn't it? Because that level of rest is really important. I guess you can't just go and put your mind in a jar, So your physical rest is also likely resting your mind as well. Does that make sense?
Potentially. So I think there's been a change there. One, we only previously ever understood rest to mean physical rest. I think, historically, if we look at rest, and you picked cyclists out, putting their legs up, do everything to rest the legs because it's all about the legs. Historically, that might have been put your legs up and have a nap. Whereas now you might find cyclists, put their legs up, but they're on social media, they're on various platforms, they're not actually resting their brain, and actually they may not be getting as efficient or as productive rest as they may have otherwise been having, because they're still mentally stimulating and getting stresses from other areas, and actually, which is strange because we're getting a broader and better understanding of the combination of mental and physical sort of recovery and rest that work together. And that's why I think it's nice that you dropped in that idea of your mental cup and your physical cup, because, I think later on, when I was kind of looking through some of the stuff we wanted to cover, I was talking about how those two areas tie in. So I'm sure we'll come back to that.
Yeah. I guess when you're training, Mark, that's really good for your mind. That is a form of meditation for you, but you're putting your body under enormous stresses and strains. Yeah. So all I'm saying is it's not resting isn't just necessary, because you can go for a run, can't you, and take your brain out and feel refreshed and come back. And that's quite an interesting dynamic. Well, your body could be working, but your mind could actually be in a really, really healthy place.
And often the more extreme work, because I'm not sprinting anymore, but when I was sprinting, that was the most extreme way of getting rid of the demons, because the exercise was so intense you didn't have room for any other thoughts. It was purely the mechanics of running overrode everything, really. It's
different for everybody, isn't it? It's about identifying what works for us. And I think each of the rest, rehab and recovery things, Bryan, I was thinking, I talk about them as a muggle, someone who doesn't understand the physiology and the science of it. So I guess, how do you work with
individual needs?
I guess so. Is it similar to the pain thing? It's all just on an individual basis, or is there a kind of a rule of thumb that is, if everyone did this, then that'll be a good start? I guess on the rehab.
I think absolutely. There are rules of thumb that you can apply. As a bit of a segue, one of the things that's become really popular in exercise is something called streaking, not to be confused with sort of football matches, running across the pitch, but basically doing consecutive days of whether it's running or cycling. And it's become a really popular thing, like how long can you streak for on a particular activity? And, there's lots of really, good positive messages and things that can come from that, but there's also lots of stress and pressure and injuries that can come from that. So certainly we can probably say, doing intensive repetitive exercise on a daily basis is probably not the best idea for most people. But I'm loath to make rules for everybody, because our physiologies vary so dramatically in terms of what we can tolerate that it's very hard to just set out rules in stone for everybody. But I think much like pain, I don't treat injuries. I treat people with injuries or pain the same way as I would consider that with rest and recovery, and indeed rehab. You're looking at the person to figure out what that best combination is. And if we're looking at what's the right amount, whether it's rest or recovery, we can probably the easiest way to break it down is into subjective and objective measurements. So subjective is just how we feel. Do my muscles feel sore? If we're going to look at a physical body, do I feel fatigued? So, something classically like delayed onset muscle soreness. So that DOMS, that sore feeling you get in your muscles when you've had a good training session. that's an easy subjective measure. Someone says, yeah, my muscles still feel sore, so you probably don't feel ready to train. So easy subjective measure. We can go into more detail with subjective measurements with things like questionnaires. So if we look at mood state questionnaires, they delve a little bit deeper than purely the physical DOMs like muscle soreness. So they'll start to look at sort of emotional states, stress states, cognitive ability. And they've now found, things like these advanced mood state questionnaires or profile of mood state questionnaires are really interesting because they show that there's changes in cognition speed, and emotional response based on recovery from physical exertion or other stressors. Mm-hmm. And so I find that really fascinating. And actually, often they can unpick lots of detail about how an individual is rested or recovered in general, not just an athlete.
Right.
Objectively, probably the most popular variable, probably not the best term to use, that we're seeing nowadays is the use of HRV, which is heart rate variability. I don't know if you guys have heard of HRV or... Just
about to talk on it.
Well...
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Literally.
Yeah, so HRV is a really good because it's very accessible, easy to measure. So it's what, if you've got an Apple Watch, it's what that will measure, or Whoop, which is one of these really popular wrist straps that will measure HRV and therefore sleep quality and things like that, or Omega Wave. There's lots of them. Okay. But you can even now do it with an app and a heart rate strap. But essentially what it's going to do is it's going to look at your autonomic nervous system and therefore the balance between your sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, which I think you guys are talking about, that fight or flight versus rest and digest. Yeah. And that gives a really nice objective measure of a person's overall recovery or rested state. And that there's some really interesting research coming up on that. And they're trying to unpick what more it can tell us. But certainly we know it can give us an idea of overall fatigue within the system and recovery state. But they're using it for things like, is someone overtraining, overreaching, things like that. But they also can use it to guide training. So you can use HRV guided training, whereby you decide whether you're going to do a hard training session based on whether your HRV suggests you're well recovered or not, as opposed to just Tuesday's leg day. Done.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just going a little bit off piece, but the reason I was going to talk about HRV was it was in my notes on vagus nerve, but we didn't get to it. Okay. And as you say, Bryan, it's coming much more to the forefront. But it made me think then when you were saying, just before this started, Damien said, what am I training today? And I haven't quite decided. A bit of it's going to be on instinct. But the interesting thing for me was that when I've trained women in the past, when we've looked at menstrual cycle, especially female strength trainers, there's certain times of the month when they know they're going to be stronger. So even to the point that some women will only enter competitions at only certain times during the menstrual cycle. And that to me has a similarity to HRV because you're responding to where your body's at its best. So I thought that was quite an interesting
and that's an interesting one where... in that case, you're talking about female athletes are able to subjectively identify when they feel a combination of whether it's recovery, hormonal balance that allows them to feel a better performance is within them. They're capable of a better performance. Yeah. And that's absolutely like a subjective output. And the cool thing about HRV is that it's non-invasive, it's cheap, and it's easy. And that's why it'll become very widespread, I imagine. There's good research to support what it can do and what it can tell us, and it's really easy and cheap. Like I said, you could get an Apple Watch, you could get a Whoop, or you could just get an app that you can download, like Ithlete or iThlete, an app and a heart rate strap, and it will start to tell you what your HRV is. It's as easy as that, and you can start to take it to any level in terms of how you want to plan your recovery. So it's a really interesting variable to assess and to perhaps consider as part of that sort of, definitely. Am I rested? Am I recovered? And what does that mean?
And I guess our next purchase then.
Yeah, we've been doing the Investing Us thing. So we've done the blood test and I'm doing a gut biome thing. And it's just, it's a little bit like that. It's understanding what your body is doing to therefore...
Deep dive, isn't it?
Yeah, because you can go, well, I feel that, but you don't know actually what it is. I guess the science behind that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because you could, sometimes I've come to you in the morning and I feel just so wrecked, like tight. But then you go, hold on, I'm lifting like Bruce Willis in Unbreakable. You're like, it's like, what's going on here? I feel like you can just keep putting the weights on, man. But then you think, well, why is that? I don't think I've eaten very, and I don't know why, but it's understanding why those things come together. You mentioned streaking. I get the habit building type of streaking. Weirdly, you've kind of talked about HRV. You're going to do that. I didn't know you were going to do that. No. But we were going to do streaking habit building on the next one. And I guess that's not just about physical things, isn't it? We were kind of talking about you can do the streaking stuff in terms of rest and because it's just habits, isn't it? It doesn't matter what you're doing. Streaking is just building those things and gaining that consistency and familiarity, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's gained popularity through. I'm trying to remember the name of a guy. I mean, there's a guy who's run for something like 80 years every day of his life or something. There's always amazing stories of one individual, and therefore, everyone thinks I can do that too, or I should do that. Should you do streaking with rest? No, that'd be a great one, wouldn't it? I'm going to rest every day.
But there are some people who aren't very good at it, can't sit still. I've had people in my business like they go and then they just drop and then they get ill and they're out for a week and you've lost them and you're like, oh, that's not good because they're physically unwell. But they might have to force themselves to sit down and reboot. More regularly than others.
For instance, like that, you're right. Rest streaking or some form of habit forming where rest is included as part of their life could be important. I mean, that's beyond my remit to sort of comment on that. But it's certainly really interesting to think about how that's how you have to individualize things. You have to try and pick up on cues and say, actually, this person works really, really hard and then they burn out. But maybe that's what works best for them. How often do we try to change that just because we think, well, that doesn't look very good to me, that's not normal, or that's not within the normal limits? But it might be just how someone operates best. We don't know.
Rehab, I mean, that can mean lots of different things, couldn't it?
Don't know. Ask Brian.
Brian, does rehab mean what I kind of was? I wasn't talking to you. In your what's your definition?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Once again, it means lots of different things within different spectrums. You can define it in different ways. It's the same as therapy can be considered lots of different things. Are we talking about psychological therapy, physical therapy, physiotherapy? Rehab, is that rehab for addiction to substances, or is it rehab for a physical ailment? So it can mean lots of different things. So we've got to more clearly define it. Rehab within my scope is about sort of musculoskeletal rehabilitation toward good function, or restored function for that individual, whatever that might be. And that's really kind of for me where rehab ends. But it shouldn't be a sort of a full stop. Rehab needs to blend back into that person's life, and that might be rehab towards functional sort of capacity where they just need to go back to work, or it might be rehab towards sporting performance. But either way, when I get a bit upset if a physio gives someone 3 exercises, 3 sets of 10, do those and see you later, and there's no you should stop these after. It's not like you should do them forever. It's not like brushing your teeth. There was a reason, hopefully, why those exercises were prescribed for a hopefully set period of time to achieve a set target. And then after that, what's the goal after that? So for me, rehab is a very targeted, time-specific approach toward musculoskeletal return to a functional state previous to when the person presented with either pain or injury or dysfunction, the latter of which is a bit of a tricky word because people will define and present in their own circumstances with that.
Yeah, and I guess there could be some things which, you get a knock, for example, you identify it, you work through it, it goes. That's okay, but don't need to talk about it. If I talked about my shoulder,
here we go.
No, but and okay, I haven't. I've been doing my exercises, but not. I've laxed a little bit. However, I've kind of discovered this week that I think it's sort of something to do with my sleep. I could just do those exercises forever, but because I'm going to sleep as long as I'm alive, right? So then you have to identify that thing that just keeps doing that, because you can't just keep doing rehabilitation and not addressing the thing that's causing that thing, right? So
exactly, and that's very often the problem. If the rehab exercises, say in this scenario, aren't put in context or don't form part of the solution, then they're meaningless. So that's where you've got to solve the problems that are additionally contributing to the repeat presentation. It's sort of, as I said, you've got to assess current status, function, pain. What is the issue? At that point, you then want to assess the goals and aims of that person. Are they realistic? What are the timescales to perhaps reach that? Because a lot of times I'll have someone come in, they've got an injury and they've got a goal. And, the gap between those two is large and the timescale expectation is short. So managing expectations is really, really important at the start of that journey. If I said to you, Damo, you come to me with shoulder pain and say, yeah, and I've got this, CrossFit competition I want to do in 2 weeks' time, and I quietly don't tell you that this injury is going to take 3 months to get better. It's really important to communicate that message, because otherwise, there's a mismatch in where you think, oh, I'm going to be better next week, or this will just go away. So I always start there with people and say, look, this is going to take a good couple of months, or this will only take a week, or, at best guess, or we're going to keep trying to adjust our expectation. But I think you've got to communicate that early and clearly to the best of what the assessment will allow, to establish what the journey is going to be, because then we've got to map out what are the gaps between where you are now and where you want to be, and what do we need to do to get you from point A to point B, and then what metrics can we use to measure and assess whether you've achieved that, whether it's range of motion, pain score, functional performance, return to work, at whatever different level that is. But we've got to have something, both subjective and objective, back to what we said at the start, to establish if we've achieved what we set out to therefore end a rehab journey, and therefore rehab stops.
Just building on that, Bryan, I'd be interested to know, one of the things that I struggle with sometimes is, I would say my most driven clients are often the ones that either need rehab or recovery more often, just because of the nature of, the mileage they're doing or the weights they're lifting. But they're also seem to be the people that are most driven in physical achievement, are the ones that have the least patience in terms of rehab. And I don't know if you found that as a correlation. It's almost the better the sportsman is, the less patience they'll show in terms of recovery. I mean, I know I'm guilty of that myself. I'll talk myself into that this isn't hurting anymore when I know it is.
When Bryan was talking, and I was thinking about when you've got a race at the weekend, you go, "Oh, my hamstring isn't quite right, but I'll be fine by say." It's like, Mark, that's 3 days away.
No. I just wondered if Bryan thought there was a correlation between that sometimes the people that would be the most driven are the ones that probably don't, or maybe don't take your advice or want it fixed overnight.
I think there can be, because those situations can conflict or cloud our better judgment. I think we all fall into that trap, depending on whether we've got specific targets. If I've invested £500 in a ticket to go and do an Ironman triathlon, and I've bought flights to go to Frankfurt, and I've booked a hotel for the weekend, and I've been training for the last 9 months for it, and now I've got a bit of a sore Achilles, I'm probably not in the best state to make an unbiased decision about how I better manage it. So there might be a combination of burying our head in the sand, and that is the person who just doesn't come to physio, or makes an inquiry but then doesn't book because they really don't want to be told that actually it might mean that their Ironman's in jeopardy. And they don't want to open that can of worms that might be there. So you're absolutely right, Mark, in the sense that when there's competition at stake or an event, and it might, it might even just be a Sunday football game. It doesn't have to be an Ironman where you've paid 500 quid and you've booked flights and you booked a hotel. It might just be the Sunday league match where you want to see your mates, and you don't want to miss that because that's your social. So it exists at all levels, and that pressure to want to do the thing that you're doing still exists.
So one of the things I've found, Bryan, definitely, especially in this lockdown, is that I have an increasing number of clients who are working from home. I don't know whether you have the sort of same range of clients. I would say, without a shadow of a doubt, the people working at home are causing themselves, in a lot of cases, restrictions because they don't have the movement during the day that they would in the workplace. So they don't walk to the water cooler, they don't go outside, they don't go to the canteen. And their desk becomes a magnet, and it's almost impossible to leave it. And the number of people I'm saying, you've literally every half hour, every 40 minutes, and people going, "No, I'm on a Zoom call." It just seems that their world becomes narrowed, and that their desk becomes the be-all and end-all. And I know with a couple of clients, I've been working really hard on, you've got to shut your laptop, you've got to leave that room and get some fresh air. There's people who aren't, even going out of a day. And as human beings, we're not meant to be inside in centrally heated rooms, 24/7. I don't know whether that's something you've come across, because I know sitting is posturally, it's such a bad, it's just such a bad thing, isn't it, to be doing day in, day out?
No, I mean, definitely, Mark. I see lots of that trend. And, the problem one is the invasion of the workspace into your home. I see that sort of having a massive effect on people psychologically as well. And when your workspace invades your home, and maybe invades too strong a word.
I'm not sure it is.
No,
I'm not sure it is.
Yeah, but also maybe it's not, because what ends up happening is that there's no separation. And we talk about work-life balance. It just becomes almost impossible to untie and unpick those things when you're at work, but you're in your kitchen, and you may have your children running around the kitchen, and your family life is then completely intertwined. And like you said, Mark, there's no need to move around. There's no canteen. There's no, we're going to go to the meeting room, 2 floors down, or I've got to go outside, or your normal commute to work. Okay, might have taken 40 minutes of your day, but it involved that was when you used to do your walk. And trying to encourage people who gained time back in their lives from their commute to, if it previously included physical activity, to try and put that back in. And again, that's just where we talk about the separation and how we respond to this. I know people who've gained 2 hours back a day on their lives, and they've just thrown it all into exercise. Yeah, I know other people who've taken that back, and they've, perhaps not. They've just stayed inside. Maybe, we'll all choose to spend our time differently, but yeah, in principle, unfortunately, we are seeing that pattern of people just being inside, staying inside.
Just one last thing, just linked to that. I'd be interested to hear, Bryan, in terms of, because we haven't touched on recovery quite as much. Has what's going on at the moment affected people's ability to recover? I know it's a really broad question, but you'll obviously be saying to people after you've seen them, be giving them guidance. Are they then coming back and going, well, because of X, Y, and Z, I wasn't able to, my recovery has been... So it could be a whole host of things, couldn't it? It could be about accessibility to provision. It could be ability to leave the house, or concerns about doing certain things. But I guess you give a sort of pattern of what people should do for recovery. Is that being impinged upon?
Impinged, you could say. Maybe I would think the word to use would be it's being changed, and how we adapt to that change is what's important. So the activity side, someone who goes to the gym regularly, or goes and swimming regularly, or plays team sports, and suddenly they can't do those things. It's how you change and adapt to those things. If you play team sports and then team sports stopped, and you just, well, that's going to massively affect your overall physical health and fitness and so forth. Yeah. Like you said, recovery-wise, if recovery was you used to sit in your lounge, and that was where you used to kick back, whether it was watching TV or not, but now your lounge is where your office is, that's affected your recovery. For example, I mean, yes, we haven't talked as much about recovery, and maybe I'll touch on what I was going to say about recovery, which was just at the major difference that you might consider between recovery and rest. Obviously, we could talk about recovery at a physiological level, but just to come a step above that is you might look at recovery as being active strategies to facilitate or support that restoration of function or adaptation, which kind of happens in conjunction with rest. So I see them as sort of being complementary, but I personally see recovery as being sort of active strategies that we can do to superimpose the sort of the benefits of rest. So you might look at that from a athletic performance side of things as, ice baths or massage or compression leggings or things like that. Or you may, something like meditation, which Mark, you touched on earlier. And I think meditation has incredible restorative and recovery benefits for individuals, and just spending time having a bit of mindfulness. So Headspace is an app that I've found really helpful and useful before. And I find that every now and again, I need to dip in and use Headspace app to do some of those mindful meditations and things. When I feel I need them. So those sort of things can be active strategies to improve recovery. And I said it might be mental, it might be physical, or a combination of those. Yeah.
It was interesting just you saying about Headspace then. I use Calm. I've been sending out invites to one or two people because Calm allows you to do that. But I was playing around with Calm the other day and found that they also have a streak. So they're keeping an eye on your mindfulness. And I thought even something as relaxing, well, not relaxing, mindfulness is more active than relaxing, but something as cerebral.
I thought I was onto something with the streaking of rest, and I hadn't quite got to meditation.
The Calm app actually tells you, it records. It's a bit like your sort of Spotify review of the year. I got one from Calm telling me how many I'd done, my biggest streak, and even when I meditate, what time of day I meditate the most. And I think it's interesting that mindfulness can be sort of competitive.
Yeah, exactly. Everything can be. Yeah, kind of some numbers behind it. I guess one thing I looked at what I jotted down for this pod. One thing I wrote. I studied Latin in school because you had to, not because I thought that'd be cool. One of the phrases that I knew, and then it kind of cropped back up because when you study physio and these sort of things, is mens sana in corpore sano. I don't know if either of you guys are familiar with that.
I did Latin O level. Of course, I know what it means.
Yeah.
No, I don't. It's something to do with the mind.
So a healthy mind is a healthy body. Okay. And you could flip that statement around the other way. And I thought it just nicely summarizes kind of what we've been talking about, underpinning all of these things, rest, rehab, and recovery, is that both things, healthy mind is healthy body can lead to a healthy mind. And so when I'm looking at helping somebody with any of these elements of rest, rehab, and recovery, it's that we have to consider both of those things. And I think one of the questions you asked earlier was, are they separate? Do they relate? And I would just say that they're sort of so intertwined and so interrelated so as to be almost, always considered together.
Yeah.
But I like what Bryan did there, the link with the mental bit, which is, I think, where we've been going the last few pods, especially bringing together the vagus nerve. I think for too long, people have seen physical and mental things as two separate entities, things, definitely.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you, Bryan.
Pleasure.
Yeah, watch the numbers go. You do have some admirers as well. We did a little Instagram survey, what you want more of or less of. That there was one that said more Mark, but that was actually Mark that sent that in. But the other one was more you. So I don't know. We're not saying that there are some.
I don't know how many of the pods you've listened to, Bryan, but you are a sort of running theme for Damien about any time you're mentioned, the word "ladies" comes up straight away. There's a certain correlation.
You're a hit, Bryan. That's all I can say.
I need to drop back into a few more. I like I said, it's when I'm doing chores or having to go for a walk to get my daughter to have a nap. That's that's pod time for me.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, we'll catch up soon anyway. I'll get back to my exercises, but we'll definitely catch up. It's been working. It's been definitely good. That one behind the back, I could the first day I did it, I couldn't do it at all. Over Christmas, I was pretty good. The Christmas week, I was doing it every day. But
like you said, Damo, we're all a work in progress, aren't we?
Yeah, accountability.
He's brilliant. That's why you're so good. You use our strap lines and everything. You got a busy day?
Yeah, I've got quite a bit on actually. I mean, it's obviously with lockdown, I've curtailed pretty much all of the bike fitting stuff because it doesn't really fall under essential medical provision. So physio is still providing sort of a virtual first sort of recommendation or direction for people because we just want to try to keep people at home if we can, and if they don't need to come in, then we can do so much virtually. And you've seen that when we've had a virtual appointment. So. Trying to follow that sort of edict. But thankfully, keeping busy. And the other thing that's keeping me busy is my new clinic, which is unfortunately going to open sort of early to mid Feb, which is not great timing in terms of the sort of lockdown scene of things. But really excited to have a more sort of bespoke set up space for what I'm doing.
Great. Was that in Bath?
It's going to be outside of Bath as well, so it's kind of near Corsham. So it's kind of like 20 minutes outside of Bath. But it'll be a nice sort of setup unit. It'll have a bike fitting space, treatment space, and then a full kind of gym rehab space as well.
Awesome.
That's good.
Right, we better leave you to it. But thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you for your time, Bryan.
Great to catch up, and keep in touch, and we'll speak soon. Damo, hopefully I'll hear from you more sooner.
All right, take care.
Okay.
All right, guys, have a good one. Take care.
Bye. If you want to find out more about Bryan, and you absolutely should, then go to thebikethebody.com and you can follow him on Instagram at thebikethebody.
He seems to come across as a bit more grown up than us, I think.
Yeah, it's probably because he is. Proper grown up.
No titting about with Bryan. No. Arthur, listen in.
Yeah, I might send that to him personally with a little bow on it. Going here.
Tit free.
It's good.
If you go into settings, privacy, analytics and improvements, and analytics and improvement sounds, I'll have some of that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and so this is how to improve Siri and dictation. That's the heading. And so the opening line is, this is going to make the service better for you. I never use Siri because obviously probably I know most things myself anyway.
Your own font of knowledge.
Yeah, except films and names of
the important things.
People So you can opt in to improve Siri and dictation. So if you agree, it says the audio of your interaction with Siri and dictation may be stored on Siri's servers and reviewed by Apple employees. So straight away...
Anyone in Apple.
It doesn't say a specific group, by Apple employees. So basically, whatever you say to Siri, so if you say, and I'm thinking of one or two guys we know, some of the things they might ask Siri might be personal.
Yes.
Don't know why I said guys and women. But you know what I mean? You might ask for... It does give a lot away about your life if you're asking something and going, can you check this for me? Or can you look this up for me?
Do hemorrhoids hurt?
God, they do. I got them in Venezuela. I had that discussion with someone last week.
You got hemorrhoids in Venezuela?
Yeah, and I thought it was...
Are they worse than...
Well, it was because I thought they were alive.
All right.
I was in Central America.
Is that southern hemorrhoid? I mean, southern hemisphere? Is that...
I don't... Yeah, Venezuela.
Are they worse? So they go the other way?
I'm just trying to make them... I'm just trying
like the water go down the sink.
I'm just trying to make it sound exotic. Just Mark not to have temperate climate hemorrhoid. Anyway, so it can be stored...
It's a sentence you never thought you'd say.
So dictation may be stored on Siri servers and reviewed by Apple employees, blah, 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 blah. In addition to audio recordings, other data such as computer-generating transcriptions of your requests, so straight away we're going to write down what you say.
Yeah.
Names of your contacts.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm asking Siri about how to get rid of
What's it got to do with my
piles
contact?
from Venezuela, you don't need to know the Venezuelan High Embassy's number. Apps installed on your devices and location. And then it goes on and on. Anyway, it tells you how you can get out of this if you have opted in. But it then sort of goes, this will be kept for up to 6 months, but in some cases it might be kept for 2 years. And I'm thinking, basically, Siri, as long as you opt into this, can listen to everything you say, but keep everything you say, and then burrow into your phone to find out who your mates are.
Remember that Halo thing we were talking about when we're talking about our wearables?
Yeah.
That's constantly listening to you. That's all been stored. They're not going to have that just disappear into the ether. That's valuable information.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it?
But it's interesting this on your phone almost as like casually telling you, this is something we've done to help you.
Yeah, just think how mad that if you gave up your blood and gave it to someone and they had the means to clone you. I mean, just imagine. I mean, I know it's far-fetched, but just imagine how awful that would be. I mean, you wouldn't give your blood up, would you?
No, not to any Tom, Dick, or Harry.
Yeah. Right, we're good?
Yeah, we're good. We've rambled.
Yeah, we have.
Good luck with that.
Thanks. That's it for this episode. Well done for getting this far, and thanks for listening. Please make sure you subscribe to us and give us a 5-star rating and or review on Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter at I'mFinecast, and you can send us an email to imfinecast@gmail.com. In the next episode...
Well, I'm going to do the meditation because I've practiced it.
Did you?
We won't do it now because we've just rambled far too long. But
okay, cool.
I've done, I quite like meditation. I could practice it on you now, off air.
Okay.
Okay.
I've also got a couple of things in here I want to talk about, which is the streak, building long habits.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, what? You went...
No, just something as ever.
Is that spooky?
No, not really. It's just because I talk about streaks a lot, but something came up recently and I had a discussion with somebody.
Remember that song called The Streak?
Yeah.
Yes, the call and the streak. Woo! Look at that, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah.
And something called the Uncanny Valley I want to talk about.
Okay.
So we'll see you in the next episode.
We will.
Bye-bye.
Bye.